Hello, this is the link for the next class. Are we dropping our details here too?
Thank you. That's why I'm surprised people are dropping their details here.
Where we dropped was in the computer class that just
ended.
Yes,
thank you. So that's why people ask.
Did the lecturer for this one ask us to drop details now?
I don't even know.
Because I've not heard anybody's voice.
Let the governor. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Let the governor come up and people should not come and.
They are being proactive. Leave them. They are being proactive.
They drop details.
Hello.
Okay, that's good.
Hello, this is Professor Delife here.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir.
Sorry, we are starting late. I just discovered that I didn't share the updated slide with you, so that was the cause of the delay. So I just shared it. I want one of your governors, which is Mr. Leko, to please share with everyone, and then the class will start. Sorry for the lateness. Hello.
No, sir. You can
Yes,
start,
I
sir.
want to confirm if you all have the
You have it.
material.
You have it, sir.
Okay. So can I make the class governors co-host? So please just indicate, and I'll make you co-host from here. It's just to be sure that we have a very smooth class. Or any other volunteers, we can have 3, 4 volunteers. I'll just make you guys co-hosts so that in case anything happens, you guys can still assist.
You can make me co-host, sir. Michael
Yeah,
Felix.
just indicate just raise up your hand. Okay, so just hold on. Okay, Isaac is also. So once I've made you co-host, you can drop your hands. So I already made Isaac co-host. So I want to make SCN co-host. Okay, SCN done. Felix, Michael. Okay. All right. So I think. Okay, good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining today's class. Once again, my name is Adeleke from the Department of Actuarial Science and Insurance. Today would be a continuation of last week's class, which is sampling and sampling distribution. I'll also introduce hypothesis testing. The material shared last week, I had to update it, and that's why we're starting late. So sorry about that. So I want to believe that everybody has a copy of the material, and we can continue from where we stopped. Last week we did the basic definition of terms that are relevant to sampling and sampling techniques. And then we also introduced ourselves to various sampling techniques beyond just the definition of the terms. So before we continue, I want to take your questions or reactions or suggestions. So please, you can ask your questions in the next few minutes before we continue from where we stopped. So once you raise up your hand, I'll call. So we did introduction to population, to sample, parameter, statistics, estimation, estimate, estimator, sampling, sampling frame. And then we also discussed two types of sampling. We looked at the probability-based sampling, and then we also looked at the non-probability-based sampling in terms of definition. And then in detail, we discussed the simple random sampling, stratified random sampling, systematic, and cluster sampling. I think that was a summary of what we did last week. So, do we have any questions? None. Okay, so yes, you want to ask questions? Hello?
No, sir.
All right, so today we continue from non-probability-based sampling. As a revision, remember we said sampling is a procedure, okay, by which you take sample from a population. And this procedure can be probability-based, and it could also be non-probability-based. So for probability-based, it means that some chance mechanism will have to be used, some random technique will have to be used, or some probability theory will have to be employed in the selection of sample. So under the non-probability-based, we are not employing any chance mechanism. We are not using any random techniques. We are also not using any probability theory in our selection, but rather we selection based on either the rule of thumb, selection whether based on the information that you have at hand, or you do your selection based on your interest in balancing, selection in such a way that you balance the interest of the major groups in your population. Or there are times that you have hidden population and you want to do something such that you use a member to generate other sample. So in those scenarios, probability-based sampling do not apply. So we start with convenience sampling. Convenience sampling. So when we say convenience sampling, it's a non-probability-based sampling. But in this case, you select based on the accessibility. Based on accessibility. So I wanted to do a survey with regard to banking activities, and I have a questionnaire to administer on bankers. And of course, we know that banking environment is a very restricted environment. So one can't just go and then administer questionnaires, in that environment without having access. So, because I have maybe my uncle, my dad, or my student working in that environment, some of the restrictions are, might be relaxed, for me to have access. Or it could be that somebody had volunteered that, look, okay, since I work there, just give me a couple of the questionnaire for me to administer on your behalf. So the administration is based on access. Okay, it's based on access. It is not based on any other consideration. It is because I have access to that population. That's why I'm conducting the sample survey on that population. So when you do your selection from where you have access, then that is convenient sampling. So convenient sampling can now be defined as a non-probability based sampling in which samples are selected from the population where the researcher has access. So accessibility is the major consideration for convenience sampling. Yeah, someone can say, yes, it is also convenient. Yes, convenience will come from accessibility. If you don't have access to it, then it won't be convenient for you to execute that sampling technique. So accessibility is the major consideration for convenience sampling. So the second one is purposive sampling. So there are times that the selection is based on information. Okay, there is a competition organized by maybe Security and Exchange Commission, and the competition is targeted at MBA students nationwide, and that competition will entail maybe debates. There are topical issues. It could be on the forex crisis that we have in the country. It could be on any other topical issue. So you are looking at how it affects the capital market, for instance. And so some schools have been selected to be part of the debate, for the competition. And schools are advised to nominate a candidate for the competition, for the debate. So nomination is about selection, okay? Out of the several MBA students of University of Lagos, for instance, maybe we are putting forward 5 members, to participate in the debate. So how will you do the selection? You can't do simple random sampling because you need to put your best candidate forward so that you stand a chance of winning the debate. So, in that wise, the register will not even work. That is what we call the sampling frame, because you cannot select students at random. You want to select your very best to represent you. So selection at random won't work, because if you select at random, you might end up not getting the very best. And since it's a debating competition, some candidates are very, very cerebral. They are on 5.00, but they are stammerer. So you also want to select them. Okay, they might be at the background, maybe writing the essay, doing the research, on the materials and so on. But you cannot put them forward for the debate. So you want someone that is very, very eloquent, someone that can, speak very fast and clearly within the time given. So you will select based on information available. What is the information? Amongst yourself, that person that is very, very vocal. You can identify that person. You also know that person that can speak, at the top of his voice and still make his points. And then that person is also, intelligent enough to represent you. So those are the qualities that you put together in your selection. So the selection is based on information. It is not based on accessibility. For convenience sampling, your selection is based on access. Because you have access, you do your selection from there. But here, you do your selection based on information. Based on information. So you select candidates that possess the qualities of being eloquent, the qualities of being very, very loud, someone that is very bold, someone that can face crowd, blah, blah, blah. And then you select 5 to represent you. So the selection is not probability based, and it is not convenient. Not convenience because you're not using accessibility, rather you use information. So purposive sampling is a non-probability based sampling in which selection is done based on accessibility. Based on accessibility. Okay? Based on accessibility. So, we have taken 2, convenient sampling, convenient because you have access. Purposive because you have information. Look at the sporting activities. You want someone to you have NUGA, Nigerian University Games, and the university wants to participate. So there's need for the universities to select candidates to represent, to represent the university. Selection will not be based on convenience. Selection will not be based on random. Selection will not be based on systematic. It will not be based on stratified sampling or cluster sampling. Selection will be based on information. Students that are engaged in sporting activities, those are the students that will be selected. Okay, so that selection is purposive. So also you have beauty contests, to participate in. You want Mr. MBA, you want Miss MBA, and you maybe stream 1, stream 2, and stream 3 want to compete, amongst each other, and then we want to know which class will have Mr. MBA and which class will have Miss MBA. So stream 1 or stream A will not make the mistake of selecting guys at random, because you might end up selecting guys that are pot belly, that won't fit into the criteria that will win you Mr. MBA. So you will select those that you feel will fit into that criteria of Mr. MBA, and then you put them forward to represent you. So the same for Miss MBA too. You can't just select ladies at random. You select those that you feel meet the requirement. So the selection from a population is based on information that you have. That is purposive. But for convenience, it is based on your accessibility to that population. So the third one is quota sampling. Quota sampling. So I'm sure the word quota is not new to all of us, because the Nigerian system runs on quota. Everything about us is quota. So our political system is based on quota. Even our admission is based on quota, except 2 universities that the whole country is the catchment, UI and UNN. All other universities, some elements of quota is employed in the selection. So when you select your unit in such a way that you want major groups to be represented, that's the whole essence. You just want representative of the major groups in your population to be represented, and you are not doing it at random. So you can see that this is very close to stratified sampling. In stratified, because you have background information about the population, so you decided to divide the population into homogeneous units, and then from each of the units, you will now select simple random sample from each unit. But here, you are not selecting sample. You're not dividing your population. So you're not dividing your population. You just identify, and then you will you select. Okay, you have the major groups there. Just go and select. It can be the use of the rule of thumb. It can be by nomination. It can be by anything. Okay, but probability based. Anything but probability based. Okay, so and then you ensure that the groups are well represented in the population. So remember, probability based sampling is sampling that employs the use of chance mechanism, random techniques, or probability theory. While non-probability based sampling do not use any of these techniques in the selection. You select based on accessibility, based on information, based on the constituents of the population, okay, so far, and then based on the criteria that I will discuss next. So before I move on, I want to take your reaction. Because it is always good that we move at the same pace, and it's always good to have reaction from students to know if they are well understood, or you are just talking and the student at the other end are just waiting for you to finish the class. So we should understand why I seek your comments at regular interval. Okay, silence could be, let's just wait for this man to finish. So silence could be that everybody understands. So, but it is good that we are all on the same page. So I have Cynthia and Omotayo. Your hands are up. So you can, let's have your reaction or comments, please.
Okay, sir. Good evening, sir. Once again, good evening, colleagues. So from your explanation, I quite understood the convenient and the proposal sample. And I have a bit of understanding of the quota sample, but I wish it could give us more example on that. And then the snowball sample, I didn't even get explanation on that at all.
All right. I have not discussed the snowball sample.
Okay.
So, but I will go over the quota sample as you have suggested. Temitope.
All right, good evening. Thank you so much, sir. On the quota sampling, is it like the one of Nigeria that we have a quota of sharing whatsoever come at the federal level? Is it like that? Thank you.
All right. So, okay. I will start from the beginning so that we can appreciate the quota sample. I started with the convenience. The convenience, access. You have access. That's why you are doing the selection from there. For the purposive, you have information. Okay, it is information that guides how you do your selection. But for the quota, you have prior information about the population. That this population has major groups in it, and you want those groups to be represented in your sample. You could go the route of stratified sampling, where you divide the population into the known groups, okay, and then from each of the group you do simple random sampling. But in this case, You are not doing simple random sampling. That is the difference. The groups are identified. From each of the group, you do your selection, but the selection is not done using simple random sampling. Selection could be done by nomination, just as we have in our political system. There's a job, a job is advertised. Oh, we are now going to fill vacancies in the Nigerian police force. And because of the kind of people we are, we don't want any group to dominate the other. So we have said Southwest quota is 42, Northwest quota is 48, and Southeast quota is 40. This other quota is 32, and so on. So from within the Southwest, you have political bigwigs. So those bigwigs can be the one that we nominate. Either they sit down in their houses and write names, or either people submit applications to them that they collate, or whatever. They have used whatever means to generate a list. It is that list that they collect. So it's the same thing that the quota system is employing. All you are interested in is that the groups in the population are represented. The representation can now be done by nomination. It could be done by any other techniques. So what you want to guarantee is that the groups are represented. Do we still have any other hands up? Okay, so I hope I've been able to clarify the quota. Okay, you have groups, and you want the group to be represented in your sample. So, but you are not applying any random techniques within each group to do your selection. Okay, so getting a member of that group, the whatever method you use is at your own discretion. Okay, it could be with the use of a rule of thumb. It could be that you meet opinion leader and get somebody nominated or whatever. Okay, so what is important there is that member of the group is part of your sample. That's the consideration for quota sampling. Now let's look at snowball sampling. Snowball sampling. We all do network marketing, or not all. Majority of us have heard about the principle behind the network marketing. You use your friends, you use existing customers to generate more customers. Is that not the principle? You use your network, you use the people that you know to create wealth or create value for yourself. That is the principle of snowball sampling. You use a member of the population to generate your sample. And it is mostly used for hidden population. When we say hidden population, it means that population does not have any list. So if I may ask, how many of us are into substance abuse? I'm sure there's no list anywhere. List of people that abuse substance. No. But you want to have an idea of the epidemic. So you use the principle of birds of a feather flock together. If you can get one individual that abuse substance, give that individual a lot of incentive, and then ask, okay, whom among your friends also enjoy this, whatever you take with you? That person with enough incentive will lead you to his or her friends. And then you meet his or her friends, talk to them, give them a lot of incentive. They will also lead you to other friends. And then before you notice it, you have a large network of substance abuser or substance user that you can use for your estimation. So also in marketing, you use incentive, you use discount, you use reward to encourage people to refer. Okay, if you can refer to people purchase. If you refer 5 people, we give you free lunch or whatever. So we use a member of the population to generate, okay, your sample. That is snowball sampling. It is also known as network sampling. Okay, so you start from little and then you use that little to generate others. So you can see from the explanation that it is not probability based because you are not selecting at random. Okay, you select. In fact, the selection is based on those that you have relationship with. So you are not using information for the selection. You are not using accessibility for selection.
This one
You are not using
that's one I normally play with.
for selection. So, so Mr. Victor Adedeji, do you have comments or questions?
I'm fine, sir. So sorry.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so that's the summary of the non-probability based sampling. We can look at the advantages and the disadvantages. Adigun, please.
Thank you, sir. Sir, I was just trying to think of my past experience whenever I'm doing digital adverts on social media. So I was not thinking the way Facebook designed their dashboard, professional dashboard, is in a way whereby you can even do A/B tests. But I later realized that there are some even while you give the technology a specific way and selection of the kind of the category of people you are targeting, I still found out that they still choose below the actual range placed in the population. And not only that, I also understand that sometimes you might put a particular class of people to target, but I found out that the technology, the algorithm, does not really work in the way a particular researcher would have worked. Now, my question is, among these techniques for sampling, which one it should be the best to actually get the performance any advertiser or marketer is targeting in the world as a whole? Thank you, sir.
Okay, for most digital based sampling, it's actually a combination of quota and random. The quota is based on profiling. You will profile your audience, so to speak, or your customers or your users. You will profile them based on some criteria. It could be age, it could be gender, it could be whatever. Okay, so after the profiling, so you now have groupings. Then within each group, the selection will now be done at random. And that's where the bias comes in. I told you about the problem of simple random sampling. Because
yes.
Particular group.
Sir, because I love what you just said now, because I almost sued Facebook for a particular project that I carried out, and they didn't actually, I think they selected it based on random, which was very biased because I'm a Nigerian. Thank you for pulling that out, sir. Thank you, sir.
So that is where the issue is. because they did a combination of the two, they have profiled, which is good. But within each of the grouping now, they still need further profiling, profiling at the second level before you can have a true representation. But because the algorithm just does random selection, it generates, it's now assigned number to every member of that group and then do the selection at random. If I have the opportunity, okay, I will show you now. I will share my Excel sheet and then show you exactly what the algorithm does. Because you can actually do selection in your Excel. You can do selection at random. I'll show you now. So that's what the system does, and that is where the bias is coming in from. So you still need further profiling within each profile for you to have a good representation, because you still need to specify. Otherwise, you just have something that is not too good as a representation.
Sir, one more question, sir. In case, like the scenario I just shared now, is there any legal action when a particular brand goes against or whatever their system is biased instead of it being debiased? What are the protocols you feel we can take legally to defend ourselves?
It is better for you to understand what the algorithm does. Why don't you ask that, okay, after the profile, how do you do your selection? So you might say that you don't want random selection, that they should do systematic. Systematic will give you a better result, because yes, you have assigned number to everybody, then you select at some intervals. So with that, some of the bias of simple random will have been eliminated. So there are some other terms of what is it called? There are some terms that they give you, and then they say you have agreed to all those terms. So you will have signed off and agreed to those terms while you were signing the contract. So suing them might not be effective. So asking further questions to now guide them to giving you the desired result might be more helpful. So let me show you guys how some of these things are actually done, although it has been automated in all those platforms that you are using. So I will share my Excel sheet now, and then do simple random and also do systematic. So just hold on. Meanwhile, we can ask further questions. So the advantages and disadvantages. Like you can see from the way I've explained each of them, that they seem to be very easy in terms of execution. The convenience sampling is the easiest of all of them. You have access, you just quickly go and then do your selection. So it's very cheap to implement. Convenience sampling, very, very cheap to implement. Okay. And then when it comes to the cost, convenience sampling seems to be the cheapest of all. Even when you compare with probability-based sampling, convenience sampling is the cheapest. You only go to where you have access, and then that you can predetermine before even leaving your space. That's where you have access. Just go there, do your administration, even if it is electronically administered questionnaire. That portal will give you access to its users. That portal will give you access to subscribers and so on. So you just target the portal and then submit your. So Adigun, you can go ahead.
Sir, do you mean cookies, website cookies? Thank you, sir.
Yes. So you can see the advantages is enormous using the convenient sample. Okay, for purposive sampling, the selection is done because you have information. So it is not as cost efficient as convenient sampling, but at least relatively compared with simple random, with systematic, with cluster, is still cheaper. Okay, and efficiency might be high, but whatever you have might not be a true representation, and of course why it might not be a true representation. You only select those that met some criteria. Okay, you're not selecting because they represent the entire population. Okay, you select based on some criteria. Okay, that's when you do your selection. So I'm about sharing my Excel. So I want to do simple. I want to do random sampling for you. Chioma.
Yes, hello, sir. Good evening, sir.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if I missed it, but I didn't hear you mention anything about sampling with and without replacement, sir. Could you say one or two words? Thank you.
Oh, okay. No. I'm not. I'm about to get to that level because it will now snowball into the sampling distribution, which we shall now discuss. No, I have not. I have only discussed the non-probability sampling techniques. Okay, and then we will now go to sampling with or without replacement, and then it will snowball into our sampling distribution. So I've not taken it. Sorry, I want to quickly activate the admins for the. So I'm sharing the screen. I hope you can see it. So,
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So. All right. So now let us assume that I have students from stream 1, stream 2, and stream 3, right? So I have 20 students altogether. So I have serial number, okay? And I have my students. Let me just say MBE. All right. So 20 students, so 1 to 20. So this actually represents my frame, okay? And these are the students. Student W, student Q, student C, student H, Y, A, B, NN, MY, and so on. Okay, so these are the students. So these are the students. Okay, so I have my list, 20 of them, and I want to select from this list a sample of five. Okay, from this list. I will select using simple random. I will also select using systematic. So from the data analysis, there's sampling there. There's sampling. So you go to sampling. This is sampling. Okay, I hope you are seeing it. I'll select my sampling and then from the sampling now. So you can see the sampling method. Only two methods are available, in the add-ins. So other method can be quickly programmed. So I have periodic. Periodic is systematic. Okay, select at regular interval, and then you also have random. All right. So I will do random. So so let me select my some. I'm using the serial number as the identifier. Okay, and that's exactly what the system will also do. Even the Facebook system, it will give everybody an identifier, and then it's the identifier that you will select. Once that identifier has been selected, the mapping to those identifier will be your selected unit. Okay, so I've done my selection, and then I want to do random. So we want to do a sample size of 5. All right. So I want you to be in a new sheet so that it won't mix up with this. So I have my selection already. So you can see my selection. So it does this selection. This is exactly what your Facebook is doing. Look at the selection. Selection here is with replacement. Can you see? 16 is selected. Candidate 16 has been selected. Candidate 18 is selected. Look at it. Another 16 is being selected. 16 selected twice. 18 selected twice, and then 6. This is where the bias will come in. Okay? This is where the bias will come in. But that's exactly what the algorithm does. So that's selection with replacement. And then selection with systematic now. Systematic, that is the periodic. All right. So again, you do your sampling. So this time around, you do periodic, and then at what interval do you want to do your selection? Remember what we said about the sampling interval. Sampling interval K. K is capital N all over small n. So if I want a sample size of 5 from a population of 20, at what interval should I be selecting? Capital N over small n, 4 interval. 20 over 5 is 4. So I will say select, that will be periodic, will be 4. And then I will do my selection. So you click OK, and then look at the selection. So you can see that this method produce unique sample. So Mr. Digun, this is what I was saying, that if you had discussed with them that, look, don't give me simple random, do systematic.
Sir,
Systematic
you are very right.
guarantee
That
you.
was what I did, and I got 98% high performance. Thank you, sir. I
Exactly,
did this.
exactly.
I implemented this when you discussed it last week, and I was
So,
emailed. Thank you, sir.
All right. So this is it. So let's go back to the slide. So I'm sharing the slide. I hope the slide is now showing. Please, can you confirm that we are back to the slide now?
It's showing, sir.
Yes,
All
sir.
right. So, Osanyode, you want to say something? Okay, so let's have your.
Hello, sir.
Yes, I'm listening.
Okay, thank you for the explanation so far. So I just want to understand, like, these numbers, right? In what areas? Because I'm struggling to, because we are just doing some, we are just picking randomly, and I'm not really maybe somehow applying, thinking about it, how I can apply it. So I don't know if maybe you can give maybe probably like a little bit of life case or realistic scenario
Okay.
of how we can use these
Okay.
methods. Yes.
Yes. Remember last week I discussed the essence of sample. You have a population, you don't have definite information about that population, so you needed to observe it, and then so that you have information about it. Consider you being an importer. There's a regulatory body, SON. SON's job is to assure the quality of your product. They will want to certify that product, fit for the consumption of Nigerians. So you have imported, and then you submitted your paper. So there's need for them to take sample. That means taking a bit of your of whatever you have imported. You take it to their lab, and then pronounce judgments or about the fitness of the product for consumption. Now, the process of taking part of that population is sampling. Okay, so you have imported 5 containers. They might decide to select from only 1 container, and then they are satisfied. They might decide to select from container 1, from container 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then take it to their lab for examination, and then they make pronouncement. They can just decide that, okay, because container 1 is the one that is at the front, so I will select from container 1 alone and go away. That is another method. So what is the simple random now? You have listed the items. They just come into the container, and then they just say, okay, bring that one at number 5. And then they do the selection. That's random selection. It's purely random. You give everyone equal chance, and then you quickly do a selection from it, and then they observe. They can ask you and say, okay, from each of these containers, please give us 5, 5. At that instance, they don't care about how you do the selection. What they just want is each of the containers, sample from each of the containers have been obtained, and then they will go to their lab and test. That is quota sampling. Quota. You just want each of the container to be represented, because each container now represents the grouping. Everything that you have imported is the population. The way you do the selection is your sampling, the sampling technique that you use. So you can select at 5, 5, at 2, 2 interval and say, okay, let me start from container 1. I will skip container 2. I will select from container 3. I will skip container 4. I will select from container 5. That is systematic sample. You select at regular interval. Okay, so and there are so many instances. As long as you want to make a statement about the population that you don't have information about, you do selection. You take a bit of it for you to have an idea. So all these techniques that we are discussing, they are the possible ways of doing it. Okay, you are doing social research or political research. You want to have an opinion. You want to have an idea of how the young people are feeling about the government policies. So you want to be sure that whatever opinion you are coming up with is not biased because of their religious background or because of their ethnic background and so on. You want to make sure that whatever results you come up with actually represents the feelings of Nigerians. So you'll be very careful in selecting your sample. You want to make sure that you are not selecting only from Southwest or only from Southeast or only from Northwest. So you do the selection in such a way that it will be a representative of the population. Mr. Matthew, patience. Okay, so Mr. Digun, you can ask your question.
I'm sorry, sir. I was just trying to reflect based on what we learned last semester. Now, sir, whenever based on what you are saying now, based on this current sampling you are mentioning now, which one works best? Because I experimented something and I got my own feedback, but based on what you are actually telling me now, I have to go back to the drawing board to apply it and see which one works best. So I want to ask, between we using mean media mode to select and maximum and minimum, which one works better? Thank you, sir.
Okay. It depends on the population. If there is some homogeneity, even in the figures, after computing, maybe you do your calculation of the mean, variance, standard deviation, and so on, you will see that your mean, and then as compared with other values, that they are very close. So when you have them, it means that you don't have outliers within your data. You don't have values that are extremely large or extremely small. So they are uniform in some ways. So with that, you use your mean. You know, your mean, your mode, and your median, they are all average. All of them are average. But they are different. Okay. So, but when you notice that after computing your mean, compare it with all the values, you notice that there's a particular value that is very far away. Okay. Or far away could be negative, it could be positive. Then you'll be very careful in using the mean. You will use your median. All right, because the median is resistant to outliers. They are not affected. What do I mean? Look at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The median is 3. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The median is the mean is also 3. But change 5 to 50 and find the mean. You will see that the mean is closer to 50 than the 4 other numbers. But the median remains 3. It's still the middle number. So the median is not affected by that 50. So that's why if you look at it and you discover that there are extremely large values in your data set, the median will be a better representation. I'm doing a survey on income. My friend, don't use mean as a measure of your average. That average income of Nigerians is 52,000 naira. No, you'll be misleading the policy maker because there are some Nigerians that are earning in dollars. If you convert it to naira, you will see that by the time you average and find average, you will say that everybody is earning well. Meanwhile, a large proportion of Nigerians are not earning well. So arithmetic mean will not be good, but median can be good. But median will give you an idea of 50% of the population. So it will say 50% of the population are less than this value, 50% are above this value. So it is the constituent of your population that will determine how you will calculate the average. Okay? Your average could be the mean, it could be the median, it could be the mode. The extreme values, the maximum, the minimum, will just give you an indication of how far or how close your value can be from the center. Okay? So I don't want to be too mathematical. I'm just trying to be as flexible as possible. So that was the idea behind your use of the mean, median, and mode, and it also plays a big role too in the way you do selection, in the way you do your sample. Because if you are not careful, if you don't put all these conditions into consideration, you will always come up with sample that doesn't represent the population you are dealing with. So you should have an idea of the maximum, the minimum, the spread, the concentration. In real terms, mean means concentration. Standard deviation or variance simply means spread. So, and that's why everything that you do, even when you just take investment decision, two values are very important. Your measures of concentration, your measures of dispersion. And that's always the thing that you look out for. You cannot have an albino in front of too many black men. By the time you look into their midst, that albino can easily be spotted because he's an outlier. Okay, I will say so. I will say so. Do you have a question?
No.
All right. So let's continue. Sampling with and sampling without replacement. You know, I illustrated that using the Excel, that there are times that units can be selected multiple times. And what it means is that once a unit has been selected, observed, that unit is returned back into the population before subsequent draws are done. If you have that kind of scenario that involves you doing your selection, observing it, and then returning back into the population before you do subsequent draws, then that selection is sampling with replacement. You are replacing back what you have selected into the population before another sample is selected. However, if you do your selection in such a way that the selected units are removed from the population before subsequent draws are made, then that sampling is without replacement. Sampling with or without. These are the two techniques that you can use. I can do my selection, I observe, I return back into my population what I have selected before subsequent draws are made. That is sampling with replacement. And then you also have sampling without replacement. So in application, some sampling are destructive. You have imported bulbs, and the regulator needed to check the mercury content, some possibility of some gauge of some harmful gases in the bulb, the lead content, and some other things. You know, the selection will be destructive. You know, by the time they take the bulb, they will need to destroy it in taking all the parameters that are required. That selection is without replacement, because once that bulb is taken off, the bulb is not available for subsequent draws. It has already been destroyed. That selection is sampling without replacement. Once it's taken off, it is taken off. Okay, you are producing cars and you want to test. You know, in that industry, a sample of size 1 is good enough for their observation. So, and most times for them to test the safety of the cars, you know, they will ram the car on a very thick wall, and then they take their readings. So that selection is also is destructive, and it is sampling without replacement. But once it's taken up and observed, it's no longer available again for subsequent selection. So that is the difference between sampling with or sampling without replacement. So what are the errors that one is liable to when you are doing your sample? Okay, so you have sampling error and non-sampling error that you can have. So there are two types of error in sampling. We have sampling error and non-sampling error. For the sampling error, you have it's committed when you have used when you have not used your sampling technique appropriately. So that can be a major reason why you're having sampling error. Your population is heterogeneous, and then you now decide to use simple random sampling. Of course, there will be sampling error because you have used the wrong technique in your selection. So you do that. And then you also have the non-sampling error. You know, there are times that you administer questionnaire on illiterate. You didn't put them through in this in the on how to fill the questionnaires, and then they start filling it anyhow. So in fact, there are instances where you say, if your answer to question 1 above is yes, please kindly go to question 24. So, but because you give the questionnaire to someone that doesn't know how to read and write, he answers everything. Even when his answer to question 4 is yes, he's still not jumping, and he's still answering subsequent questions. So those will lead to non-sampling error. And then, of course, if your measurement material is bad, and other things. You can also have a system breakdown, you know, while your system is doing selection, if you're doing it electronically, and then suddenly the system break down within 5 seconds, and then it came up again. That 5 seconds that you have lost, you know, it could lead to some errors. So, and that might introduce some level of bias in your selection. So that's needed to be taken seriously. So so why do we have to take sample? Why do you sample? So if I may ask, majority of us know how to cook. So why will you take sample from your cooking? Why don't you consume everything while you're cooking it? So, you know, it's cost effective. You know, you don't have to eat everything. Just take a little, and then you will know whether your source is right or not. And then in terms of accuracy and scope, it's better you work with a sample. After all, the tip of an iceberg is also an iceberg. So you don't need to carry the whole iceberg because you want to study the iceberg. Just take a little part of it, and then you are okay. So must you donate 1 liter of blood before the lab technician knows that you have malaria parasite? No, a little drop is enough for the lab technician to detect malaria parasite. So it's the same idea. Just take a little, and then it gives you an idea of the whole. So these are the necessary reasons why sampling has to be taken. Okay, so now let's go to.
Hello, sir. Please, I wanted to ask something based on the need of sampling.
All right.
So, as relates to greater scope, can you explain the need there? In
Okay.
regards to greater scope.
Yes. You know, when you take your sample, if you are dealing with a very manageable figure, you could do let me use the word scenario analysis. So you could say, what if I multiply this by 5? What could happen? What if I decide to work with a particular group alone? So what would be the outcome? So if I now have to do the entire population, it might not be easy for me to accomplish. So I can use that sample to cover more grounds, look at other areas that are not even within the objective that I've set ab initio. So sampling will allow you to do that. That's what we mean by the greater scope. Not limiting yourself to a particular outcome. You could play around and do all sorts of experimentation and doing all sorts of scenarios, and you will have the outcome. You will know the effect on the population based on sample. That's what we mean by greater scope. With that sample, you can do a lot. So let's look at the sampling distribution. So I will again go back to my Excel and then show you how to do sampling distribution of our sample means. I will do my selection with replacement, and I will also do it without replacement. And then we check the effect on our mean, median, and mode, and then we all decide whether sampling makes sense or not. So when we say sampling distribution of the sample means, it's simply saying your mean from your sample, you are looking at the distribution of it. You are looking at the possible means that you can get, and then what is the probability of getting each of those possible means. If you can put them in a table that shows your possible means and their corresponding probability, what you have is the sampling distribution of the sample means. Okay, because this plays a big role in our estimation. So you know the possibilities that you can get, and you know the chance of getting each of those possibilities. So if you can put them together in a table, that table is the sampling distribution of your sample. If it is mean that you are interested in, that will be the sampling distribution of your sample means. If it is the total that you are interested in, that will give you the sampling distribution of the sample total. Okay, so that's the. So I gave the steps, as you can see on the screen, the steps that are involved in your in getting the sampling distribution, especially for the sample means. So selecting with or without replacement has implications as to the number of possibilities that you can get. So if I'm selecting with replacement, the number of possibilities I can get is capital N to power of small n. But if I'm selecting without replacement, the number of possibilities is capital N combination small n. Look at the example that we have here. So we said, suppose we have a population of size 5. That means the units in that population, there are 5 of them. And in fact, there are actually 6, 8, 10, 12, and 14. Okay, these are the units. And I'm to select from this population the sample size of 2. So, and I want to do my selection with replacement. So I want to derive the sampling distribution of the sample means. Now let's look at what we have on the screen. So if I'm to select with replacement, the number of possibilities that I can have is capital N to power of small s. Capital N to power of small n. Capital N is 5, small n is 2. So I'm going to have 5 to power of 2 possibilities. That means there are 25 possibilities that I can get selecting with replacement. That means if I select 2, if I select 6, that 6 is returned back, and then I shuffle. It's possible for me to have another 6 selected again. So now you can see in the on the slide, I have the units in the population that are 6, 8, 10, 12, and 14. So these are the possible selection. I can have 6 and 6 is a possibility. I can have 6 and 8, 6 and 10, 6 and 12, 6 and 14. I can have 8 and 6. I can have 8 and 14. I can have 12 and 6, 12 and 10, 12 and 14. Then I can have sorry, the last one. Ooh, please change it in your paper. The last one should be 14, 6. 14, 8. 14, 10. I can have 14, 14. Then I can have 14, 12, and I can have 14, 14. Please change it in your paper, please. So now these are the possibilities that I can get in terms of selection. So if I select with replacement, these are the possibilities. And if you count them, there are 25 possibilities that I can get. Then, so since the sampling distribution I'm interested in is mean, so for each of the selection, I will calculate the mean. For each of the selection, I will calculate the mean. The first one is 6 and 6. So how do you calculate the mean? You will add 6 and 6 together, and then you divide by 2. 2, because there are only 2 observations there. So the same thing goes with 6 and 8. I will add 6 plus 8, 14, divided by 2, 7. 6 plus 10, 16, divided by 2, 8. So, and that will give me the next table here, calculation of the means. So I will add the 2 possible selections that I have, and then I divide by 2. So if I prepare a frequency table for my mean, I will end up getting this. That means from my table, I will calculate. I will start counting. Remember, these are the possible mean. The mean could be 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The maximum mean I can have is 14. That's when I have 14 and 14. So I will now count. How many 6 do I have? You see, there's only 1 6. But how many 7 do I have? 2. I can get 7 from 6 and 8 and 8 and 7. So there are 2 7s. How many 8s do I have? There are 3 of them, and so on. How many 14 do I have? It is only 14 and 14 that can produce 14 as the mean. So what I have here is the distribution of my means. So if I decide to create additional column, call it probability. If I have additional column, probability. So, such that the probability of getting a 6 will be 1/25. Remember, there are 25 possible values. The probability of getting a 7 is also 2/25. The probability of getting 8 is 3/25. The probability of getting 9 is 4/25. The probability of getting 10 is 5/25. The probability of getting 11 is 4/25. Probability of getting 12 is 3/25. Probability of getting 13 is 2/25. Probability of getting 14 is 1/25. Ladies and gentlemen, this table is the sampling distribution of my sample means. Sampling distribution of my sample means. Sampling distribution of my sample means. That's what that's the procedure in obtaining the sampling distribution of sample means. And then this table can be used, as you can see, you will see as you move on to other topics, and the table can be used for estimation. You can use it to find the mean, and use it to find the median, and use it to find other things. So we discussed this last week, estimation. Remember, I said we have two types of estimation: point estimation, interval estimation. So our next class will be I'll just do interval, how to construct confidence interval, and then introduce us to hypothesis testing. So if I'm fast enough, I might finish next week before other lecturer will set in. Otherwise, I might have an extra class before another lecturer set in. But I hope to finish next week. So next week we shall treat hypothesis testing. So you guys will learn how to check the Z table, the T table, and then use them, in constructing confidence interval, and then hypothesis test. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think we should just stop the class at this point, and then we continue next week. So, but I can take your reaction, and take your comments, and take your questions.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, evening.
Please, sir. I'm sorry, I did not get the definition of the sampling with replacements and without replacements.
All right. So, I said when you select from the population some units, you select one by one. So I have taken off number 18 from the population. I've observed it. That number 18 is returned back into the population before I select the second one. Okay, I observed again, I return it back before I select the third one, and then for subsequent selection. That kind of sampling is sampling with replacement. That means I'm replacing back units that I have selected. However, for without replacement, once I select that unit is removed from the population before another selection is done. So if you do that, then your sampling is without replacement. You are not replacing selected units into the population before subsequent draws are done. That is the difference between sampling with replacement and sampling without replacement. Okay, I don't mean. Yes. Do you have question?
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, evening, Sir Isaac. Yes.
Okay, sir, this is not a question. I want to ask, are we going to get this material after the class?
I shared the material now. That was why the class started late. I was trying
Okay,
to
the one I have right now is the one you shared last week.
No, I shared one
It doesn't
today.
contain some of
In
this
fact,
information that we have shared.
it was dated
Okay.
today. I shared it with one of the NBA governors, Leke. But anyway, once I stop now, I'll share it with the other two governors just to make sure that everybody has it.
Okay, fine. Thank you very much.
I'll share it. And then if there's any update, I might update next week. I will also use next week dates so that you can differentiate the document.
Thank you very much.
All right. So any other comments? Please make sure you type your matric number and your details in the chat section so that we'll be able to capture your attendance. Yes, Mr. Adigun.
Sir, I would just like to make a request, sir.
All
Sir,
right.
whenever you have any project, special project that you need assistance, I will be available. I need internship on research, sir.
Okay.
I'll be willing to join. Thank you, sir.
All right. So that's very noted, sir. Okay. So do you still have any comments? So in the absence of further comments, I will declare this class closed. So ensure that you write your matric number so that we can track our attendance. Thank you very much. So see you next week. All right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you, 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 sir.
Bye, sir.